This story revolves around a loser who is not only weak, but also utterly broke. Bullies love picking on him, and the rich chick he's in love with hates him like nothing else. She literally despises him for being economically invisible. But all that changes one day when some unknown virus starts turning people into flesh-eating zombies. In no time, the whole world becomes a post-apocalyptic playground where you gotta survive on your own. It doesn't matter how much money you had, it's just paper in this desolated world. And, as luck would have it, that same chick, Yena, who used to love tearing our poor guy down, now desperately wants to stick around him, just to make sure she survives. But before jumping further into the story, let's rewind to the beginning for better context. It's a usual summer morning. Inside one of the apartment rooms lives our protagonist, Minjun. Looks like bro had a blast the night before playing games, with his computer still on. He's currently sound asleep, though his peaceful sleep is soon interrupted by the shrill ringing of a phone alarm. Of course, like most of us, the sound of the alarm is as annoying as it gets. He forces himself to pick up the phone and shut the damn thing off. Since he has school to attend, he drags himself out of bed. When he walks into the kitchen, he sees a note from his mom on the fridge, telling him to fend for himself today because she's already off to work. Not long after, he dresses in his school uniform and steps out of his dimly lit apartment. While he's living in this cheap area, he can't help but stare at the luxury skyscraper across from him. Bro seems to envy the kids living up there, while he's stuck in the slums, rotting away in his miserable life. But complaining about life won't ease his struggles. So he starts walking toward his school. The school in question is Seonggun High School. It looks like life at school isn't much easier for him either. There are, of course, the classic bullies who just pick on him for no reason. They're having fun while Minjun's suffering on the floor. Leading the pack is Park Seongbin, 18 years old, second year, class 3. As Seongbin continues to mock our boy, a voice cuts through the air, making Seongbin stop in his tracks. It's some chick, along with her entourage of sidekicks. She's not impressed with Seongbin's childish crap. He is always bullying people who are weaker than him. Not that she likes Minjun either. She finds him just as pathetic. But she also thinks Seongbin's making the school look bad with his dumb antics. Her name is Han Yena, also 18 years old, and she's in Class 2, Section 3. Seongbin quickly starts acting all buddy-buddy with Minjun, as if they've been best friends forever. To him, Minjun is just the class mascot, so having some fun with him isn't such a big deal. Yena's point still stands. He's causing unnecessary chaos in the hallways, messing up the school's decorum. If Seongbin wants to play around, he can do it outside the school. Seongbin then points out how she is probably the one who hates Minjun the most, but now she's preaching about righteousness. Yena defends herself, reminding him that while she might find Minjun ugly, she doesn't hit him physically, unlike Seongbin. We learn that Yena and Minjun are classmates and have known each other since middle school, just like Minjun knows Seongbin. Moving on, Seongbin invites Yena to tag along because he's meeting some new guy today, but Yena flatly refuses, not forgetting what happened the last time she listened to him. Apparently the last time they hung out, it was at Minjun's semi-basement apartment. It was smelly, messy, and just screamed poor. So, no way she's going there again. The reason this princess has such high standards is that she lives in that high-end apartment complex our boy had been staring at earlier. The same building visible from his place. Her parents are a hospital director and a professional, meaning she was born with a golden spoon in her mouth. She's always posting new pictures on social media and has pretty much everyone in school as her fan. To top it off, she's always acing her classes, dominating not just in looks, but in academics as well. There are rumors that she'll be moving to the US next year to continue her studies. She sounds like the perfect person with literally no setbacks in her life. But she has one huge problem she can't seem to solve. She absolutely hates weak and broke guys. And guess who fits that description? Yep, it's Minjun. Let's take a quick trip down memory lane to understand where this all started. Back in 8th grade, when Minjun and Yena were in the same class, Bro mustered up the courage to talk to her, but she only responded with a tone dripping with disdain and annoyance. To her, he was just a smelly brat who followed her around like a mosquito, and she hated it. Even though their homes were in the same direction, she couldn't stand walking alongside him. She told him to take a different route so she wouldn't have to suffer through his smell. It was then that it became crystal clear to Minjun. This chick loathed him with every fiber of her being. And speaking of smells, he noticed that she always smelled nice. For him, it must be the fragrance of wealth. Under normal circumstances, after being humiliated and shut down, most people would start hating the person who did it. But Minjun's feelings towards her were unwavering. Bro was loyal to a fault. He always sat next to her, even though she constantly mocked and belittled him with her trash talk. Year after year, same school, same class, same one-sided crush. Even with her constant ridicule, he never gave up. At some point, he started to question himself. After all, only a crazy person would love a girl who ridicules them every chance she gets. But this has always been Minjun's life. Getting physically wrecked by Seongbin, emotionally tortured by Yena. Welcome to the life of a certified pathetic loser. Later, Minjun is hanging out with his two friends, and both of his friends are just talking about anime, being the otakus they are. The fat one, in particular, seems obsessed with anime, while the scrawny guy next to him, Bae Soonho, hasn't really been keeping up with the anime scene. Meanwhile, Minjun's just sitting there in silence, like a background NPC minding his own business. Let me introduce these two. The scrawny one is Bae Soonho, 18 years old, and the fat one is Byungjun, is also the same age. Soonho and Byungjun are in different classes than Minjun, but they're the only friends who actually share similar personalities with him. The only difference is that they are not the ones being bullied, unlike Minjun. And Bro is feeling seriously envious of them. The only explanation he can come up with is that they're just lucky, while he's the one who gets all the shit this world has to offer. His train of thought is interrupted when his friends ask if he's interested in going to a Lumina concert. If he's up for it, they'll get extra tickets. The model in the phone looks hot, but Minjun doesn't care about that stuff anymore. If he's being honest, he's lost his last bit of interest in these idols. Of course, his friends think he's missing out. Now that they think about it, they're starting to notice that Minjun's been looking like a walking corpse lately. As they walk out, they can't help but throw some colorful remarks about how Minjun's depressed for no apparent reason. In class, Minjun just wants the day to end so he can escape this miserable life. Then, he overhears Seongbin and his gang talking about some random guy who glared back at them when they tried to mess with him. The guy seemed intimidating, but the guys are sure that Seongbin could have easily drilled him into the ground. Apparently, this guy came all the way from North Korea to South Korea. They're making fun of him for abandoning his parents and running away to save his own skin. As they're talking, the guy they're mocking, Kang Hakchul, shows up right there and overhears them. And of course, he's not about to take their shit. Seongbin's ego gets bruised when Hakchul stares him down like he's nothing, so Seongbin grabs him by the collar. But that Sigma doesn't react to this aggressive move. He simply suggests Seongbin shouldn't speak trash about others without expecting consequences. Seongbin refuses to let go of his grip, but before things escalate into a full-blown mess, his lackeys step in to calm him down. Eventually, Seongbin lets Hakchul go, but not before threatening his life. While this is all going on, Minjun's just sitting in the background, thinking to himself when he'll finally be rid of this hellhole of a school. When school ends, Minjun walks home, his mind swirling with all sorts of thoughts. He's seriously considering quitting school altogether. It feels like his only option to escape this miserable life. He's set on it. No turning back now. That's when Seongbin and his goons cross his path. They're actually happy to see him. Seongbin wants some cigarettes and tells our boy to ask a lady over there to buy them from the convenience store. After all, they're underage and can't buy them themselves. Of course, Minjun knows this is just another way for Seongbin to bully him, and he's had enough. Instead of putting up with it, he just ignores them and keeps walking towards home. Seongbin's pissed that Minjun is ignoring him, so, as expected, he and his goons beat the shit out of Minjun and dump him in an abandoned construction site. Seongbin's holding a brick, which he used to slam into Minjun's head over and over again. They're hoping this beating will teach this shit-ass how to obey, but Minjun's had enough. With his broken and defeated voice, he tells Seongbin to just kill him. He's lost the will to live. Dying seems like the only way out. For some reason, that response really gets under Seongbin's skin. He gets even angrier and hits the guy with a kick again. Before leaving, that bastard makes one final threat. If Minjun ever tries to kill himself and mentions them in his suicide note, he promises to find his mother and unalive her on the spot. With that, they leave Minjun alone in the construction site, broken and battered. Dawn's creeping over the horizon as Minjun makes his way home after all that. The only thought in his mind is that he just wants the world to end by tomorrow. But he knows that's not going to happen. So, his best option is to climb to the top of that luxury high-rise apartment complex he's been staring at and jump. It'll all be over in minutes. With that plan in mind, he starts heading to the complex, ready to end it all. This is when he crosses paths with Yena, the girl who despises him the most. She gets annoyed just by his presence and demands to know why he's wandering around this joint when it's not even his home. Seeing how banged up he is, she's sure he's not here to deliver anything. Instead, he looks like he's here to pull off some burglary. Of course, she ends up reminding him how pathetic he is. Well, this is exactly why he came. To end it all, once and for all. The girl, on the other hand, starts questioning his bruised up face, wondering if someone beat him up. She's genuinely pissed that he never stands up for himself, and he just always takes the beatings like the damn dog he is. She goes on this whole rant for a while, and eventually, my guy just turns around and walks in the opposite direction of the apartment building. That entitled bitch keeps whining about how he's giving her the cold shoulder. But eventually, she gives up and decides she'll pick this conversation back up tomorrow. Later, Minjun gets back into his smelly and cramped apartment. To blow off some steam, he fires up his PC and throws on his headphones to dive into some video games. Thinking back on everything that just happened, he realizes that she wasn't even wrong. He really does deserve all the shit she gave him. That's also why he's not going back to school. Like never ever. Starting tomorrow, he's planning to get a job and help his mom out with the household expenses. Night rolls in and Minjun is still blasting through enemies in his FPS game, mowing down waves of zombies. Suddenly his friends in the live chat tell him they're done playing and heading off, which makes zero sense to Minjun. After all, it's only 10 p.m., still got a good 2 hours before midnight. That's when his friends remind him about the urgent news regarding the breakout. The world outside is in chaos right now. And right on cue, Minjun hears commotion outside. He gets up and cautiously heads to the front door when someone starts knocking persistently. Before opening it, he checks the peephole. It looks like one of his upstairs neighbors, asking him to open the door with this shaky-ass voice. Hearing that, Minjun just assumes the dude is drunk again. But little does he know, that man isn't his drunk neighbor anymore. He makes the mistake of opening the gate. First thing he notices is blood all over the guy's body, with a massive wound torn across his belly. Even then, Minjun thinks the guy must have gotten seriously hurt and considers calling emergency services. But then the zombified man lets out this ungodly screech before lunging at Minjun. They both crash down, the zombie dude on top of him. Minjun finally kicks him off after realizing the guy's completely out of his mind. He scrambles back and locks the door. His heart's racing, breathing heavy, with his legs trembling like crazy. There's no way that Psycho was just his regular neighbor. He grabs his phone to call the cops, but nothing connects. That's when he notices all the emergency alerts on his screen. They're saying unknown attacks are happening in Seoul and other unspecified areas. Everyone's being told to stay inside for safety. Then he hears chaos outside, just beyond his basement apartment. He opens the window just enough to peek through. What he sees is straight up hell. People are literally tearing each other apart. He even sees his neighbor again, still out there, roaming the streets and causing mayhem. That's when he suddenly gets worried about his mom and tries calling her. But there seems to be no connection. The night deepens, and Minjun turns off the apartment lights and curls up in a corner under his blanket. He tries to connect to any network, but nothing happens. No signal, no updates. He turns on the TV to get some answers on this messed up situation. The news anchor talks about a string of brutal murders being committed by unidentified civilians across the country. The government is calling it an act of indiscriminate terrorism and says they're investigating the cause and whoever's responsible for it. But no real details are out yet. The anchor urges everyone to stay indoors. Lock the doors and lock the windows. Avoid all contact with the outside world. The next update comes out as well, which reveals that Busan has fallen too. Similar violent incidents are being reported not just in Seoul, Busan, and Incheon, but in smaller towns too. Police and military forces are being deployed, but the situation already seems out of control. Minjun feels completely hopeless, getting hit with bomb after bomb of terrifying news. He's so stunned that it feels like he must be dreaming, like some sick nightmare he can't wake up from. Because based on what he just heard, it sounds like the world has fallen to zombies. But that stuff only happens in games and movies, and it's too ridiculous to be real. And yet, everything he's seen so far all checks out. He wants answers, and sitting cooped up in this dimly lit apartment isn't going to get him anywhere. He decides to step outside in order to shut the building's front door as tightly as he can behind him. But before he opens it, he sneaks a look through the peephole, making sure there aren't any zombies lurking. With the coast clear, he cracks open the door and steps out. As he climbs the stairs to the ground floor, it's eerily quiet. When he reaches the building's main door, he peeks out and spots a zombie roaming the street. He shuts the door right away and locks every single bolt. His next mission is to check if there are any survivors upstairs. But with how dead silent everything is, it doesn't seem like anyone's up there. For now, he decides it's not worth the risk. He'll wait it out until morning. He's convinced the police or military will eventually show up and rescue them. He fires the TV back up, hoping for updates. But before anything meaningful comes on, the broadcast dies. With no choice, he lies down to try and get some sleep. But with all this shit going on, he can't seem to fall asleep. More than anything, there's this unsettling feeling crawling inside him. Just yesterday, he wanted to end his life because the world was so damn cruel. He even wished the whole world would just burn. And now, it feels like that wish came true. But that doesn't mean his life got any easier. In fact, now he's struggling just to stay alive. He does not even have to think too hard to realize that nothing has changed. It was hell before, and it's hell now. So all these zombies and this end-of-the-world stuff doesn't scare him. Because honestly, he's already as miserable as a person can get. The morning comes. The streets are littered and blocked with abandoned cars, and zombies are roaming everywhere. Minjun finally opens the main door and dares to peek outside. The air feels wrong. There's this thick metallic scent of blood hanging over everything. It's so overpowering that he slams the door shut and locks it all back up. Going out without any preparation would be straight up suicide. He heads into the kitchen, and luckily, he's stocked decently. There are 4 packs of ramen, 6 cup noodles, and some instant rice and uncooked rice too. Enough food to keep him from starving for about 2 weeks. He's got 3 bottles of water, and thankfully, the tap still works. Even the gas is running for now. If he manages his supplies right, he could probably last a month here, and that should be enough time for someone to find him. Perhaps a rescue squad might help him to get out eventually. For now, his main concern is his mother. Since he can't connect to the network, he has no way of verifying what happened to her. Right now, all he can do is hope that his mother is alive and well. He then suddenly recalls how there are 5 households living in this building. In one of them, there was a college guy who lived in the rooftop room. He remembers how that guy was a true playboy, bringing his girlfriend every Tuesday to have their little fun. Since yesterday was Tuesday, that means the couple must be stuck up there. Minjun musters up his courage and finally starts ascending to the floors above him. Along the way, he checks every apartment on each floor, but there doesn't seem to be anyone there. The only apartment left is that rooftop room. As he ascends, he hopes to find the couple alive and well. Oddly enough, the rooftop door is open. Once he reaches the roof, he notices that the room the college guy lived in is also open. So naturally, he walks inside. But what he sees there is something he wishes he hadn't seen. On the other side of the room, the girl is dead already, while that college guy has turned into one of the flesh-craving zombies. But thankfully, Minjun's eyes do not land over the body since it's over his blind spot. The only thing he sees in front of him is shit ton of blood,